So my topic today that I want to talk about, and something I've been very, very excited about in the recent times, is the application of natural language interfaces in SaaS applications. And as I go over it, I'm going to cover more and more details about it, but we'll explore how conversational AI is kind of reshaping the workflows for complex SaaS applications. It's kind of unlocking potential for these applications that did not exist in the past. We'll see how this can not only help with efficiency gains, but also can actually help SaaS companies improve their bottom line, which is profit margins with every new customer they acquire. So yeah, without further ado, let's kind of dive into it. I'll start with some introduction and basics of like natural language processing and natural language interfaces, so that if somebody's hearing this first time, at least has some context what we're talking about. Then I'll kind of move into the specific challenges that are faced by current SaaS applications. Although it's a very big industry, they are not short of challenges when it comes to implementation, development. And we kind of cover that, and then how natural language interfaces can help augment some of those challenges. We'll look into possible solutions of it, what benefits they offer, what challenges are there in implementing SaaS for enterprise applications, what are the strategies or risk mitigation strategies that can be adopted by these companies, and then what the road ahead looks like what is the future that holds all of this together. So a brief introduction about natural language processing and natural language interfaces. So natural language processing, as the name sounds, it's pretty intuitive, right? It is the technology that allows machines to understand or interpret how humans speak, right? How our languages are spoken. And natural language interfaces are kind of built on the foundation of natural language processing powers, where you use NLP to enable conversational experience, where users interact with software either by typing what they want to achieve or by speaking. And with ChatGPT, you might have seen this already. There are several banking applications today. You go and you get a little chatbot on the side, and you can start interacting with it. And those are kind of the very, very early stage implementations you would see of how this technology can help. What I would like to focus on is how it can augment workflows and complexities that are associated with using these technologies. So um, again, these interfaces kind of shift how traditional graphical interfaces work, right? We're all used to kind of seeing this web-based models where somebody goes and logs in and you have to click like different menu options and find out and navigate. It kind of flips that a little bit, and it makes it all based on conversation that you can ask somebody. It's almost like you have a secretary or an assistant that you can ask to do stuff for you without you actually worrying about how to find that stuff. And NLP has been very effective in that aspect. So again, uh, let's kind of move on to this aspect of what are the challenges of SaaS, but why SaaS companies, which are already pretty big market space today, whether you see Salesforce or Netflix or any application that you use today, banking applications, they're all sort of SaaS platforms. And they're already very big integrated platforms in the user space. Then why do they need, what challenges they face, and why do they need to even change anything? So there are several hurdles these companies face. It's not just limited to the user experience with the products, but also like the product development practices, deep product integrations, having product expertise, running operations, maintenance, customer support for these apps. All of that is a very, very huge cost, which kind of attributes to very high customer acquisition cost also. It's not easy for SaaS companies to kind of acquire new users or new markets that are in the niche sectors. And that's where their challenges start. Um, Go live delays is pretty often or very common thing that you will hear in enterprise SaaS applications. And that is basically because this process is burdened by many, many layers of customizations, configurations. Before an application can go live, it has to be made fit for the client's needs. And that part kind of becomes very expensive sometimes. Uh, Many tools have complex user interfaces that requires extensive training. Like most people cannot use a tool by itself, especially if you are using a tool like Salesforce without like very formal training. Um, there are analytics bottlenecks. A lot of these teams cannot get any data insights quickly, and they have to depend on like a data engineering or IT support team for them to be able to retrieve that information. Scalability is an issue that arise with the company to kind of meet the growing demands. It is not easy for them to expand in different geographies sometimes, and definitely not in different verticals. That's where the real limitation starts, is they cannot go beyond a certain vertical they specialize in. That's why you'll see SaaS applications really good in HRMS, but cannot do anything else. You'll see some SaaS applications really good in project management, but then they cannot do anything else. So the vertical penetration is also extremely difficult for SaaS applications. So how these natural language interfaces can help in that? And what is the application here? So natural language interfaces kind of can help streamline a lot of the onboarding time for these applications. If you think of every time you think of onboarding, you have to see how users can be trained, how their initial questions can be answered, or they can be supported through the process till they get comfortable with the application. It also can help reducing setup times from hours to minutes with conversational workflows. Like if you want your application to be of certain look, certain feel, you want to interact it in a certain way, a lot of that kind of goes into that setup time that can be streamlined and reduced in complexity in future. So let's take an example. If you have a banking app, which we all do kind of day-to-day basis, and if you have a credit card from that bank, you use your credit card every day. One day you look at your statement, you find out there is a charge that you don't recognize. So there's probably somebody had access to your credit card information and now is shopping sitting somewhere in some remote island. It has actually personally happened to me where I had a $800 plus charge on my credit card from GameStop in some remote place that I've never visited. And the challenge started from the fact that, hey, now I have to first of all, scramble, log into the app, figure out how do I block my credit card. Second step of where do I go find information to generate a new credit card. And then I need to file a dispute claim for that credit card. So I have to now go figure out a customer care number that I can call and report a dispute. Now, all of this can be like multiple steps for the user. With advent of natural language processing and interfaces, if built right, these apps can actually have an interface where you go explain your problem and it automatically understands that, oh, so if there is a credit card fraud happened, there are three steps that it has to do technically. It has to block that current credit card. It has to basically file a fraud case against that transaction. And then third is if the user wants, it should be able to generate a new credit card for the user. These three are pretty intuitive steps. If you go to a banker and ask them, the problem is with NLI, you can now do it. And then these interfaces can trigger three different agents. And these can be AI enabled agents because these are pretty prescribed steps that can actually do this for them. And that's how you kind of reduce the complexity and increase your customer experiences by many fold, because now the user is not really scrambling for multiple places and understanding the complex app. Improved analytics accessibility. This is also something which is very interesting that I'm seeing with data recently, and analytics is making it accessible through plain questions like, hey, what what uh, what was my expense last month? How much money I spent on entertainment last month? If you have to ask a question like that to a bank, right, app, it is a lot easier now to interact with an NLI and have it produce that data for you. Or hey, what my income versus expense ratio looks like for last 3 months, stuff like that. And that kind of analytics can be available and can be like you basically put the power in hands of user not in the hands of engineer. And that's really interesting. Accelerated time to value. If you can take an application live faster you can start realizing value from it, right? And enhancing the support by automating responses to common issues, we kind of reduce the time required for human intervention in these cases. And that's a very strong use case for NLI right now that you will see more and more happening in the coming year with different products that we use on day-to-day basis. All of this directly addresses a lot of these pain points we kind of talked about earlier. So what are the benefits? We kind of talked about a lot of these benefits, but to summarize it, kind of analyze are user friendly, and they if they built right, they require no training for the user. Right. For an example, a sales rep can simply type "show me last quarter's revenue" and they can have revenue. They can be cost effective, although there is an initial investment and R&D cost. It can reduce operational cost significantly downstream for support and configuration. We are at my organization right now, firsthand doing a lot of stuff in the build process for clinical trials, augmenting a lot of AI capabilities, which is making that process, which used to take several months to enable protocols, we have actually brought down to weeks. And those are a lot of benefits that can add to the bottom line revenue margins for SaaS companies. Faster time to value, I sort of covered that. By helping customers achieve their goals quickly, we automatically achieve higher results, higher satisfaction, retention, all of that. Personalizing experiences, this is another thing. The more we understand a user's data, we can actually make more tailored recommendations to them about different products, options, services. And this is another area which kind of excels. They scalable, right? Most NLI solutions are pretty scalable with the advent of current large models that we have access to, cloud infrastructure we have access to. There's a lot of technology in place. So you can actually support thousands of users simultaneously without compromising performance. So if you have like 100 support tickets coming in or 1,000 support tickets coming in at once, actually you can handle both at the same time. And that's pretty cool. Improved revenue opportunity, especially with vertical SaaS. This is also something I have seen in industry where they go behind a specific market based on the ROI. And a lot of times niche segments and niche markets are ignored because the upkeep is too much. And it's not easy for any company to invest that kind of money if the revenue margin doesn't look right. And with advent of AI and NLI, we can actually take advantage of a lot of those opportunities. So what are the challenges? But so everything sounds so rosy, there must be some challenges. NLI implementing natural language interfaces is not without those challenges also. Language ambiguity is one of the challenges which can confuse sometimes the AI models. For an instance, when I say set up accounts, it can mean very different things for different users. And understanding the context is not easy. And that's why the modeling and the training of the models really take a center stage to make sure there are no, or at least reduced instances when that kind of ambiguity arises. Domain-specific knowledge is also critical. Most models that are available today are generic, and they need to be trained on domain-specific knowledge. And that's really critical for you to make sure that they serve the right purpose for your SaaS products. Data privacy is also extremely crucial point and challenge to ensure and manage. With AI, AI can expose any data because it has access to all, and ensuring compliance, especially regulations like GDPR or even HIPAA compliance, or I work in clinical trial space, which has a lot of data restrictions, even within user roles, who can see what kind of data, and that compliance takes a center stage and definitely makes it more challenging to implement. Integrating complexities, like seamless embedding of different SaaS workflows, especially existing SaaS applications, can be complex and time consuming. The cost of development I talked about, both in terms of initial investment and ongoing improvements, can be challenged for smaller SaaS companies specifically who are probably not yet profitable. User adoption and acceptance. This is very tricky. So we are thinking that, oh, we are solving everything and we're making it so easy so somebody can talk to an app and that app would take care of all these problems for them. There are users in the world who don't like change and they are hesitant or to adopt to new technologies. And requiring effective change management becomes more essential with those kind of users. But again, these are the challenges that kind of exist. So what are the strategies? How do we mitigate these challenges and how do we overcome some of this? So for any successful project implementation, right? And this is not specifically applicable to NLI, but more specific to any AI project, start small, pilot with something extremely specific, right? You can start with just automating your FAQs or some simple form of report generation. So you don't have to really go invest big before you see and test out how your users are responding to it, what value it brings to your app. Invest in high quality data sets. This is really important for training the models to data that is specifically useful for your domain. And this also helps ensure that your model yields better results and right solutions for your customers. Robust testing is extremely important because when somebody types or speaks, there can be difference in dialects, regional languages, there can be typos while they provide the inputs. And that's why testing is really critical to ensure that that's covered well. There is continuous learning aspect here, an iterative improvement aspect here that's really critical. So using these models, you have to keep training these models, right? Like humans today, we are sitting in this conference because we want to keep increasing our knowledge set, and also learn about what's happening and what other people are doing in industry. Models are no exception to that. No matter how good a model is, it has to be modified and improved over the period. And collaboration with NLP experts, vendors can accelerate your adoption in the space. So what does the road ahead looks like? Looking ahead, we'll see innovative use cases come up more and more. Like I explained you this banking example today, but you would see a lot of new innovations come in: predictive recommendations, automation of workflows, interpretability of the apps. Like how can you integrate different SaaS applications and kind of perform NLI across them. AI ethics will gain a lot of importance, ensuring transparency of how this data is used, stored, or managed. There is this next generation interfaces can have apps like voice first apps, which will improve accessibility for people who are disabled. It is also the multimodal nature of these models can actually support multiple different languages. So your user don't have to worry about a specific language for interacting with these models. The future kind of it's very promising when you look at all these use cases, and it's sort of inevitable because if we train our models right, and again, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that because that's really crucial to understand, we are actually going to be in a much better space. To conclude, NLIs can be like a game changer for the SaaS industry and can address a lot of key challenges. By adopting kind of strategic approach, companies can harness the potential that they offer and improve the user experience. They can reduce the cost. They can scale very effectively. I encourage everybody to kind of explore and do some pilots with that in your organizations or any space you work in to see what transformation it can offer to your business cases. With that, yeah, thank you so much for your time. You guys all been amazing audience. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.